Good afternoon, everybody. We'll just give it a few seconds for the participants to be patched in, and the numbers are all going up at the moment. So if you just wait a couple of seconds and then we'll kick things off. Thank you. So good afternoon. Welcome to this quarter's Meet the Chair and CEO briefing with Dadi Perlmutter, Chairman, and Kobi Anoch, CEO of Weebit-nano. Kobi will take us, and Dadi will take us through a brief presentation on the Q3 business update that was lodged with the stock exchange this morning, and then we'll open up to Q&As. If you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box. I'll moderate the questions after the presentation. So I'll hand across now to Kobi. Thank you.
Ron. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I guess if you're on this call, you know who we are. So I'll probably skip this slide and go straight to the more interesting things. We've had yet another quarter of a lot of activity. You know, really a lot of things going on right now. We're talking to multiple potential partners of all different types. I know some of you guys have been asking me, are you talking to fabs or are you talking to customers or what? So it's really a broad range of potential partners. Yes, some of them are fabs and some of them are in the US or in China or in other places. We're talking to potential customers who will embed the ReRAM, or who we hope will embed the ReRAM in their products, and we're talking about those kinds of things. And there are really all kinds of discussions going on. So it's very exciting times for us. We're continuing to focus on getting the first commercial agreement by mid-year. You know, it's not a secret that travel restrictions are not helping us, but we're doing everything we can to continue to move forward and make this happen. In parallel to all of this commercial activity, the development work never stops. We're continuing to work with Leti, continuing to work on both the embedded memory module and the selector, integrating the selector with our memory for the discrete market. We're actually using the money that we raised in the last two raises to try to accelerate as much as we can on these activities. I'm very, very happy that in the beginning of this year, this calendar year, we managed to hire Yishai Naveh as our Chief Technology Officer. Yishai has so much experience in the non-volatile memory space. He was a vice president of non-volatile at Tower for many years. And then in the last 15 years, he was one of the founders of Adesto, which was one of the pioneers in ReRAM. So for 15 years now, he's been working in ReRAM, living and breathing ReRAM, and he has great insights and really a huge contribution already in Weebit. The technical work, I said, is continuing, and obviously the innovation is continuing, and we filed additional patents. And I think we're very proud to also be included now in the ASX All Ordinaries Index, in addition to the Technology Index. So I think we're getting some good recognition here. And just in the last few days, we received the French R&D incentive. I know you guys already know in December, you see a big payment going out to Leti, and then a few months later, we see roughly 60% of that come back to us as an R&D incentive. So that's always nice to see the money coming into the bank account. Talking about the technology development, we're very focused on getting the technology moving forward. The embedded memory module is underway, and it's on track despite all of the travel restrictions. Again, you know, our R&D teams are not managing to meet, and not managing to meet the Leti team, et cetera, but the team is really working hard to overcome all of these limitations, and we're continuing on track with the embedded memory module. That's very exciting, and there's a lot of innovation going on there. And in parallel, the work on integrating our ReRAM with the selector is also moving forward. We're actually even managing to push it somewhat faster. So you know, I really hope to be able to demonstrate it potentially even before the September goal. So there's a lot of activity going on. I mentioned the 2 patents. I won't dive into the technical details. I don't think it's something that would interest you. I think the key point here is innovation is continuing. There's a lot of innovation, not just in the memory array, but also in the memory module. And we're talking about ways to improve different functionality. You can actually impact all kinds of technical parameters by the way that you write into the memory and so on. So that's really what's going on, and this will continue all the time in the background, of course. Dadi, I guess maybe I'll let you talk about the semiconductor industry. There's so much exciting stuff happening right now.
Well, you know, in some cases you prefer not to be too much excitement. Nevertheless, many of you have been attending our calls in the past few years know that we always say that semiconductors are the fuel for the digital economy, and are basically what oil and gas are to the industrial economy. And when do you know it's true, other than slogans and manifestations for people from the industry, where a crisis occurs? And all of a sudden, for many reasons, you know, low investment during COVID, all kind of you know, natural phenomena from Texas to wherever, there's not enough capacity in semiconductors to fuel the demand. And I'm not sure that I've seen it before, but you know, cars that are now, and I remember Kobe saying that many times, that cars are very much have huge amount of semiconductors products in it. And all of a sudden, big factories suspend their production because of the computer chip missing. This is a big deal. I bet the industry will come out of it. It's for us, on one hand, it's a big excitement because we know that the demand will continue to grow. It's not going to slow down because of this concern. It's just going to be an issue to go over. But nevertheless, when all these factories that we would like to go engage with them on a new technology, the all bandwidths and 99% of what they do is very much to make sure that everything is to supply. Another thing that is kind of exciting to see on the news, and you know, we talk about all kind of interesting parameters. I bet many of you yawned when we talked about our endurance to be 100x better than flash, and all of a sudden, a big you know, car industry, Tesla, recalls because of issues of wear out, because of endurance problems. Not that we are going to be anytime soon close to supply to Tesla, but we are very, you know, our belief in our strengths of our technology that is being big advantages over in flash, from embedded initially and later on into standalone, I think is a big manifestation for the importance and the key strengths of our technology moving forward. So what is yours in your court again, Kobe?
I think it was very interesting to see the Tesla recall was not because of engine or braking system or anything like the flash memory. So kind of an interesting story. And talking about the industry and the market, we always tell you that it's a very big market. So here's kind of a breakdown of the semiconductor industry. You can see semiconductor industry is something that's growing rapidly. I think it's around $400 billion and growing. You can see here the second line is the memory. This is the discrete memory. By the way, by now it's already overpassed the logic. Today, memory is already the largest segment, but you can see there's the discrete memory that we've been talking about, but all of the other segments here basically need embedded memory. So right now, I mentioned our focus is in the beginning on the embedded products, and we're talking to people in the different domains here in analog. I think you already heard me mention words like analog or microcontroller or sensors. So we're talking to people in these domains, and the market is growing rapidly. Expectations are, as you know, that in just a few years, the semiconductor market will reach over half a trillion dollars, and the memory is, I believe, the fastest growing segment still in this area. So looking forward, I guess no big surprise, the big focus continues to be on getting the technology out to a production fab. Dadi mentioned, the huge demand right now from the fabs. Yes, it is a challenge to talk to the fabs and push forward to transfer the technology when they are swamped with demand, and many of them just don't have the attention span. So it is a challenge for us. Nevertheless, we are continuing to move forward. As I always tell the team, it's not that everyone is always in the same position, and some of the fabs do have some potential. Some of them see the big potential of working with ReRAM, or for competitive reasons want to work with ReRAM. So it is impacting us. It is making our life more difficult with some of the fabs, but with other fabs, we're moving forward. And I'm sure that we'll manage to get an agreement with one of the fabs that we're talking to in the near future. So in addition to that, we already talked about the potential customers, and I mentioned analog customers, power management customers, sensors. There are different domains where our technology is a very good fit for them, the existing technology that we have now. And so there are a lot of interesting discussions. I mentioned in the past, customers are always cautious when it comes to being the first ones to use a new technology. It's very natural. I'm sure that each and every one of you is the same. You want to know that the technology, especially when it's so critical to the success, I guess, to the success of their companies, when it's so critical, they want to make absolutely sure that the technology is working, it's good, it's so on. So there are a lot of discussions, but we are making very good progress with some of them, despite the fact that we never met them face to face. It's all Zoom and whatever. And then, of course, on the technical side, the embedded memory module needs to be shipped out to manufacturing, and the selector, the work on the selector, we're really trying to push that as fast as we can now also. So I think that's it. Ron, I'll hand it over to you to moderate the questions.
Thanks, Kobi, and thanks, Dadi. Just a reminder, if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A box and then we'll cover it off on the call. And while people are typing away, I might just start with a question that came in earlier today. And the question is as follows: given the current state of global geopolitics, are the Australian and US governments aware of Weebit's technology and its potential? The investor was assuming the French government are well aware of it, given the work being done with Leti. Maybe I'll hand that question to Dadi.
Yeah, sure. Well, we have not done anything active to tell what we do. Whether they know or follow up, I don't know yet. Nevertheless, we are fully aware of the geopolitical situation. We understand the rules, we follow the changes, and we act accordingly. So far, everything that we have done is not risking Weebit and its technology in any shape or form. I know that people, when you say geopolitics, they worry about the West and China. Just to remind you all the big companies in semiconductors today, many of them have factories in China. They do things in China. And I bet the whole thing is how you manage your IP, how you manage your relationship, and what you do and how you do that. We have, as we said multiple times, we have people that dealt with these situations in the past. And of course, we consult with all the people that have all the knowledge with respect to the legal issues, the political issues, etc., etc. So we try to manage this geopolitical situation, and I think we do it quite well up to now.
Thanks, Dadi. Maybe a question now for Kobi that's come in through the Q&A. Can you give us any indication of who the potential partners are that you're in discussions with, or at least what products they manufacture?
So as I was saying, we're talking to quite a few companies. It's really not just one or two or three. It's we're talking to companies all over the world, and in different domains. There's companies that are dealing a lot of power management. This is a very hot topic today in the world. The whole issue of power management in different products, and this is a very broad domain. There are companies that are doing different types of sensors, like fingerprint sensors or other kinds of sensors. There are MCU, microcontroller units that also have a need for non-volatile memory. So it's I wouldn't say all across the range. We're not talking to the very advanced, most extreme products yet, but there's a very large range of products that we're talking to, companies that we're talking to, and making progress. I don't want to mention specific names. Obviously, we don't have agreements with them, and even if we would be in a very advanced position with any of them, it would just ruin the negotiations. So we'll announce the agreements when they get signed.
Just to explain, in the semiconductor industry, you probably have to go to two parallel paths. One is to get the agreement with the factory. Because when a product company want to manufacture, they know what factory could they go, what fab could I go and manufacture. The second one is the product. Sometimes the factory is also a product, or sometimes the factory have a list of customers that would like to manufacture there. So as Kobi mentioned, we work in these two paths. They are critical to us. Who will be the first? It's the chicken and egg, and we are working on both the chicken and the egg. And who will come first? This is what we'll continue to pull everything from.
Thanks, Dadi, and thanks, Kobi. Another question from the floor. How's the relationship working with CN?
Very good. They're a good partner. We're talking to them, and yeah, they're one of the fabs that we are talking to right now, of course.
So another question, we've mentioned in the quarterly that we're on track for first commercial agreement mid-year. How likely do you think it is that you'll have more than one commercial agreement signed in the second half of 2021?
I mentioned we're talking to multiple companies and trying to push forward. So my goal is to get more than one. I don't know. I don't want to commit right now on things. Things are progressing at different pace with different companies, and we need to overcome some of that hesitancy. But clearly, there's more than one in the pipeline right now. So we're working on. We're trying to push these kinds of things forward.
Thanks, Kobi.
Well, just to mention, it's again, I always, Kobi, I'd be very careful to predict anything. It's a very difficult one. The importance of the first, as I bet you all know in many other businesses, the moment we have a deal with one, let's say it's a factory, then our ability to go talk to product people, now they say, at least we know that we could manufacture it somewhere. Or if we have a product company as part of our first deal, then we could go to a factory and say, we have a product, you could move faster. So I think there's going to be a new dynamic. That's why Kobi and his team are so focused on nailing one. And of course, we talk to more than one. Probably when we have the first deal, we'll also talk about the possibilities of other deals because we'll be smarter then.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dadi, and thanks, Kobi. And maybe I can touch on, you mentioned Dadi, Kobi and his team. Kobi, the team has grown. You've brought on some extra talent. How's that all going, and how have you seen that lift the tempo of what you've been doing, progressing the growth strategy for the company?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's, now you made me feel good already because we hired 3 amazing vice presidents. Suddenly the company is really we have a great management team, 3 guys that are well known in the industry that have such amazing background and viewpoints. So I mean, their contribution was felt instantly when they came into the company, and I think our management discussions now are so much more fruitful, and Israelis are very blunt and just say what they think. So it becomes very very interesting to have the meetings with this team. But it's really a great team. I think each one of them has a lot of respect for the others, so they work very well as a team, and I think that's a key element. But you talk about Ishai with 15 years just in ReRAM. I'm not talking about all his other non-volatile memory experience. And then Ilan, who's been doing memories also for practically all his life. And they joined Amir, who was with us already. So you look at that group, and we hired beyond the VPs, we hired another few people who are very advanced in their specific domains. Overall, Weebit has gone through a big transformation thanks to these raises that we did in the second half of last year. The team is a much stronger team, and you can feel the energy. You can, even though, well, now we're already back to the office, by the way. So in Israel now things are more or less back to normal, and we're back to the office. So you can really feel the energy in the corridor, in the coffee corner, etc.
Thanks. We've got a few more questions that have come in. First one: what's the possibility of Weebit developing its own SSDs with the demand of data centers?
So SSD is a discrete component. So as we've been talking, we are working now to get our ReRAM integrated with the selector, but this is just the very first step out of a long road that we need to go to get a discrete component out the door. So I think the answer is eventually, and eventually means, you know, it's going to be in a few years. It's not going to be tomorrow or next year. Having a discrete component and, you know, SSD as an example of a discrete is something that that is out there for us, but it's not something that I would say is going to happen in the near future. The focus right now is on the embedded.
I just want to have one clarification to make sure. We will do our discrete products to go fit into some manufacturer of an SSD. We will not build our own SSD. We'll build the components that goes into the SSD. We don't have any SSD plans at this stage for the company.
Thanks, Daddy. Not sure whether this is a question you can answer, Kobi, but maybe there's an indirect answer to it. So the question is, what's the current price factor ratio compared to flash? And maybe just for the benefit of some of the people that are on this call, could you give a sense of, you know, how Weebit's technology using existing materials that are in fabs puts you in a position to more, I guess, rapidly roll out the commercialization phase as you go forward?
So I think what I can say is, first of all, getting into the fab, since we're using standard materials, the fab will not need to buy new machinery or new, you know, most likely, let's say it this way, unless they need to increase capacity for us or something. But in general, we go into the existing production line, and that means that's very important, because any tool, any machine in the fab is millions of dollars. It's crazy. So so that's the first step. In terms of the cost of manufacturing, our ReRAM is very simple to manufacture. We add what's called, without getting everyone confused, but just to give the numbers, we require 2 additional masks and very few steps in the fab. Flash requires order of magnitude of about 10 additional masks and many, many more steps in the fab. So without explaining even what the words mean, but you know, there's clearly a big advantage in simplicity in manufacturing our technology. In terms of wafer costs, we estimate that ReRAM will add maybe 5% to the cost of a wafer. I think flash adds significantly more than that to the cost of the wafer. So when you're talking about embedded, and right now my focus is on the embedded side, I believe that, again, once we are in mass production and later on, not the first days, we should see the impact of this simplicity in the pricing, but I can't comment on that, on where exactly what the price will be. It's too early. It depends on the fab. It depends on the technology. It depends on a lot of factors.
One thing to add, you know, cost is an important factor. I don't underestimate the importance, but people move from a technology to the other, not just because of cost. For example, the previous question was about SSDs. SSDs are now built on flash. Beforehand, people built storage using magnetic storage. The cost per bit of flash is still significantly higher than magnetic storage. So people will ask why people transform, and all big data centers are already way above 50% of their storage is on SSDs, on flash, and not on magnetic, because of speed, because of reliability. There are many other factors that people are willing to pay more per bit than just to do that. So as Kobi mentioned, for the big SSD, still too early to say. And I don't think we should engage. We are going to build a product that is going to be cost competitive, but we are building other additional big advantages. And we mentioned endurance, for example. We talked about speed of writing data into that. These are all significant parameters that make big effect when you talk about storage and memory. So I think stay tuned. I'm very optimistic of our ability to manage a transition. But I do believe that initially the cost per bit of a ReRAM might not be competitive with the flash. It will take over time, but I think there are many other parameters that will manage a transition, and I've seen that happening multiple times in the past, and I don't think that it won't happen this time.
Thanks, Dadi. Kobi, what's the status of the development of adding PIM into embedded memory?
This is something that we are cooperating with the Technion, who's researching this. They're making progress there. We are right now not working on this, so this is not a focus of Weebit. It's still mostly in research and will take time to get to the industry. This is one of the reasons why we're cooperating with the universities and with different universities on different domains. These are domains that are very interesting, that we believe will make an impact in the future. But right now, we have limited resources. We need to focus on what's important and what will bring us to the commercial agreements and be able to show revenue. I'm sure that that's what the investors on this call are interested in. And when PIM, when neuromorphic, when the other technologies will be ready to move to the industry, we'll be there.
Question that's coming in terms of first commercial deal. Do you have a target value in terms of dollars for that?
We're talking to different partners about different kinds of deals and different kinds of business models. It's really too early to give any indication on that.
In terms of production and customer adoption, what are the barriers that you see for both going forward?
So production, we need to transfer the technology to a production facility. We need to adapt it to whatever they will need. We need to get it qualified. I would say there are some technical things that have come up with some of them that they want us to update or modify. It's mostly, I don't want to say it's going through the motions. There is some work to be done beyond that, but it's, we're at the point where we want to get, we believe we can transfer the technology to a fab and with some work get it already moving. The commercial side is obviously the big challenge because that's, I tell people it's more emotional. When people buy new things, it's more emotional. And right now with the new technology, the emotion that many people feel is, oh, wow, it's exciting. It sounds great, but I'm also afraid. And we need to overcome that fear of people from buying a new technology, from going into something new and taking that risk. It's nothing's easy in startups and in semiconductor, and but we'll do it. I've done it in the past. It's not my first time in a startup where we had a new technology that we had to take to the market, and customers were telling me, "What are you talking about? There's no market for this thing," or all kinds of other comments. This is too risky and whatever. Eventually you overcome it. Eventually, you make that first, second, third sale, and then suddenly everything starts running forward. So it's hard work. It'll take time, but I don't have a doubt that we'll do it.
One additional comment, and Kobi mentioned the team that we hired. In order to overcome the issues of a new product, you don't just show them, here's the technology, go use it. It is, here's this technology, and we need to show them how this new technology could fit into their design. There's a lot of work on our behalf, and we'll have to go do that. And now that we are getting more abilities and more resources and more brain bandwidth and work bandwidth, I think we'll have to do that. It's a delicate work, and few people will jump faster, few will jump later. It's a work in progress. This is not something that is hard. This is not a product I have in my hand. This is a technology that someone have to build something around it. And, we are making good progress. a lot of people that are interested, and we'll work together with them to show them how to create the benefits or the best benefits they could get from our technology.
Question that's just come in, is there a capital outlay for a customer to adopt the technology? Do they have to change their processes?
So I think, again, when we talk about it, Dadi was talking about the foundry and the product companies. Since we're using standard materials, the foundry really doesn't need any major modification or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. With the product company, again, it's not going to be a major task to replace. I mean, if they want to put ReRAM instead of another non-volatile memory in their design, that's where the module comes in. The module makes the interface look like the previous memories that they were using, so that they won't need to make any significant changes. Obviously, there are some parameters, the speed that you read or write to the memory and things like that. So there will be some small changes, but it won't be significant changes.
But nevertheless, we need to understand, if it's a product company, they'll have to do their own design. So it's going to cost them, definitely. No design comes for free. I've still not haven't found a way to do a design without money. But even all the goodness of our technology, that the fab does not have to redo their processes, but they'll have to adapt. They'll have to run a lot of wafers to make sure that everything runs properly. So it's an investment of both predominantly human resources to be put on the effort. This is not free of charge either. So it's a time, it's running. They have to see that everything running perfectly so they could go into production. And there's a lot of work. So this is not free of charge on both the design part, but also the foundry part. This is why the negotiation that Kobe is handling is not easy. This is not free of charge. While just to make sure, it would be 2 orders of magnitude or 5 orders of magnitude costlier if they had to change their processes and machinery. So, but even if it is not a slam dunk, but it's an easier one, it still creates a lot of work and a lot of wafers to run through the factories to do all the testing and tweaking and changing and adapting to make sure that everything is perfect. Everyone wants to have a very high yield. We talked about capacity, and the yield is low, then capacity is constrained. So it's a work that have to be done. And when you talk about the commercial agreements, you'll see as much of the details that we could explore, because I'm not sure that we could tell you everything that what we'll have. But anyway, I think it is it's a work that have to be done.
Thank you. Kobe, how many teams are ready to assist with fab transfer?
I guess if I understand correctly the question, Weebit is is still a small company. We're not hundreds of people, so we have our R&D team, and now recently we hired a few people that I think they're uniquely qualified to help with the fab transfer. Weebit can't transfer now to multiple fabs at the same time. We don't have enough people, but it would also not make sense to do it. Dadi was just talking about how much work it is to transfer the technology to a new fab. It is a major effort. It's a major effort, and especially, again, first time for anything is always much more work, much more effort. You hit all kinds of bumps on the road that either you might have not anticipated, or you might have anticipated, but you didn't know in which form they'll come. So you need to focus on the first one, the first two, maybe. I think no company would ever try to transfer a brand new technology to more than 1 or 2 fabs anyway. So, and we'll be utilizing our best resources that have been developing the technology in France, some of the guys that we hired now in Israel. It'll be a major effort, both time and resources. You know, the travel restrictions, again, are going to be a very interesting thing, because many times you just want to sit in the fab together and work, and we'll need to see how we deal with that. So we'll have our challenges to get this thing going. But again, hard work, but we know how to do it.
In terms of the potential partners you're in discussion with, are there any that will require you to use their production fab?
Actually, this is a good thing. Some of these, you know, if we manage to get a bigger customer that has, you know, some significant orders in a fab, and they come and they say, we want you to go to, you know, we work in fab X and we want you to manufacture there. For us, that's a great thing, because then we go to fab X and we say, listen, you know, this big customer of yours wants our technology. Let's work together to transfer it to your fab, and once it's transferred, you can offer it to all the other customers. So for us, this would be the best thing, actually, that one of these customers that decides to use our technology decides also to put the pressure on their production fab to adopt our technology.
Thanks, Kobi. Would Weebit consider subsidizing some of the upfront cost of the fab and product companies to make them switch to ReRAM?
That's actually something that is not uncommon. When you work, the cost of moving this technology to a new fab is very high. I think it's very hard to expect a fab to take all of this cost on themselves. It's normally something that both sides need to work together on. So I don't know to say today, and different fabs have different views, and I don't want to give any of the fab partners, you know, any ideas or leverage in the negotiations right now. But we're, you know, these are things that are being discussed with different fabs, of course. You can't expect them to take a brand new technology and take all of the costs on themselves at the same time.
A COVID-related question here. Will the transfer team be prepared to isolate in the fab country for 2 weeks if it means enabling the transfer to fab to happen sooner?
Yes. I think the answer, if we already get to that point, you know,
it's a nice problem to have, right?
I can't wait to have that problem. We're already, you know, we're already planning it. So it's something that's already been discussed with the employees. It's something that we have in our plans for the second half of this year. The transfer work is much longer than 2 weeks. So at the end of the day, if that's a price we need to pay, it's not an easy price, and you know, there are a lot of logistical issues, especially with family people and so on, that you need to deal with, but we're already working on it.
I'm conscious of time, so maybe I'll ask one question of Dadi before I hand back to you, Kobi, to wrap up. Dadi, you've been in the industry for a number of years. You've seen things that work and things that don't work. What gives you the confidence that Weebit's in a good position to make things work?
Well, I've seen many things that work and didn't work, as you may mention. You know, I'm very confident. I want to be in this position if I weren't confident. We are making steady progress. We have a lot of hurdles. This is a daily problem. It's nothing as smooth as it may sound. It's a lot of work, but as I see the team overcoming the hurdles, making the right decisions, moving ahead, clearing the roadblocks, I'm very confident that they can move forward. I think it is a very important deal. It's a very interesting, promising technology, not easy to create, but the team have shown me so far in the past few years that they could make the steady as she goes progress, which is very, very promising, very comforting. Will it continue to be easy? No, but I think we have the talent to overcome the technical issues and business issues. I think we have a very good team, and I'm very happy about it.
Thanks, Dadi. Maybe Kobe, I'll hand back to you to wrap up, to close out today's session.
Yeah, well, I think Dadi really said the key thing. It's a lot of work, it's hard work, but especially now after we hired some more of the people and some of the new VPs, we have the team. You know, when in startups, people often ask me, how do investors invest in startups? In Israel, for example, when you talk to the venture capital or so on, they will normally tell you what's more important than the technology or the product is the team. You know, they want to see that there's a team that knows what it's doing, that once it will hit the hurdles and the roadblocks, it'll know how to react and how to bypass them and how to move forward. And I think we have that team now. We hired excellent people, and we'll be continuing the development. A lot of hard work. We're going to have a lot of difficulties, but I don't have a doubt that we'll manage to make it work.
Thank you, Kobe, and thank you, Dadi. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to send them through. We're happy to answer them separately. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to the next quarter of activity. You've had a busy Q3, and I'm sure it'll be an even busier Q4. So we'll keep the market informed of developments. And like I said, in the meantime, please, if you have any other questions, send them through. Have a great evening, those in Australia. Have a good day, those in Israel. And Shabbat Shalom. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.